Hello and welcome to the channel. Welcome to Top of the World. I've got a lot to do. And now I've got even more to do. So I don't have a tractor of my own, not a tractor that I can plough and harrow fields with and stuff like that. I've got to borrow one. I don't like borrowing one. And there's always a problem when you borrow one, is the person who owns it as good as maintenance and keeping their equipment up together and in usable condition as you are? No, they're not. Anyway, so I've gone to charge the battery and check the fluid levels, trying to get the tractor ready for growing season. It is almost upon us, and all the other jobs it's got to do, towed a big trailer full of wood. Let me show you what I found. Right, it's another Bollinger Mantle Volvo 700 turbo. I've done some emergency repairs on this. It had petrol in the diesel, the water lines are frozen, this is frozen, that's frozen. And this is what I'm confronted with. What a mess. What an absolute mess. It gets worse. It gets much worse. So not only is it in a mess, it's just in a disgusting state. Just vile. Not only is it in a mess, there's water in the oil. Look at that. Not good. Not good at all. There's water in the oil, and there's no water in the radiator. Right. I'll have to get up there so that I can see that you're seeing what you should be seeing. Alright, so there's no water in the radiator and there's water in the oil. If you're not a mechanic, you're not a rocket scientist, then I'm not going to explain that. Then we come round here. Empty. There's no hydraulic oil in it. There was a big patch of oil underneath it. So come round the back here, it's just in a disgusting state. It's broken things. You know, I mean, look at this. Anyway, the whole thing is covered in hydraulic oil at the back. And underneath, it's really, really, really wet. The whole thing is dripping in oil. There's the gearbox oil filter. I haven't even checked the gearbox oil. So we've got no hydraulic oil, overfilled on the engine oil, no water. I haven't checked the level on the gearbox oil yet, and the whole thing is just filthy. So, the first thing to do is to degrease all this and jet wash it off. I don't have a steam cleaner, so I can't do it that way, so I need to clean it up. So I've got a starting point. Who knows the last time the air filter's been changed. Anyway, let's clean it up first. Well, the paint's taken a bashing, but that's not my concern at this point. My concern is finding out all the things that are wrong with it, be able to see through all that grease and muck. Look at that. So now I can see all the seals, I can see all the grease joints. I can see the injectors, I can see the manifold. Anyway, we can see all the filters, and we can see where there's going to be any leaks. So not perfect because I don't have any detergent, but considerably better than it was, and clean enough for now for me to be able to get to work and start to understand what's going on. So yesterday was Sunday. I cleaned them up. Right, so you saw me do it. Today's Monday after lunch. This morning I've had to go to town. Ooh. Civilization, or as near to civilization as you want to get. How did I do in civilization today? Well, I managed to get all bar one of the filters I needed, and I managed to get the engine oil and the hydraulic oil and the glycol and the final drive oil. Now I've just run this up, ready to drop the oil. And the great thing about cleaning something, or keeping it clean, is you can instantly spot any leaks. That's coming from behind the injector pump. So now I look behind the injector pump and I can see this hose here is leaking. That goes from there all the way around up to the filter. Now I didn't know that. Now it's snowing. Really? Give me a break. Blue sky, sunshine. Right, one cloud. Now it's snowing. Yeah. Okay. And it is cold today. It is really cold today. There you go, you can see the snow. How often do we get sunshine and snow with blue skies? Well, you just wouldn't even believe it. So I've got to get a new pipe for that because it's leaking diesel and we can't have any diesel leaks. Anyway, anything else is clean. So the first thing we're going to do is drop the oil, drop the engine oil, change the oil filter to have a new one. Drain plug's nice and easy right there. So we do the engine oil first, then we'll drop the fluid. I'm changing the coolant, then we'll change the diesel filters, and then we'll work our way into the final drive. Now here's the thing with this, and it's something I always got to bear in mind. So the final drive on this is a Hydro Track 2 gearbox, axle, final drive. It's all one. It contains 95 litres of oil. I'm not going to tell you what 95 litres of oil is going to cost to put into that gear oil. A lot. So, has it got water in it? Probably. Everything else has got water in it. So I've got 30 litres. Now my idea, and it depends on what height the oil filter is, my idea is to drop the oil knowing that the water and all the milky stuff's going to come out first. Right? I know that. I'm hoping it cleans up and that I can save about 60 litres of the oil that's in there. Not ideal. Not ideal. But the cost of oil, you know, it's just, I can't, it's not high mileage, it's not a high worker. I've got to change the filter and I've got to drop the water out of it. And then I'll see on the condition of the oil after that. If it warrants changing the whole lot, oh, then it's going to have to be done, and you know, somebody's going to have to bear the cost of that. But I'm going to try and get away without doing that and just get the water out if it's got water in it. If not, then I can just change the filter and get the sludge out the bottom. But anyway, that's the idea. So we've also got the hydraulic oil. Now, because it's got no hydraulic oil in it, as yet, I haven't found where it's leaking from. But I know it's leaking, so there's no point in filling that up till we've got the leak. And yeah, the final drive, that's quite a major one. So we've got the hydraulic filter. So what we've got here is a 28mm sump nut that's been rounded off. I mean, you know, how complicated is it to use a 28mm spanner on a 28mm nut? So now all the corners are rounded off. We've got to unround the corners to put the right sort of spanner on. It's an oil plug to old machinery, right? Honestly, it don't bear thinking about, does it? Now I've got to take that. Oh. Why do I even get myself into these things? I don't know, Simon. Why do you get yourself into these things? You can see that oil, that don't look good at all. So I can't imagine what year that was changed. I can't physically get the top of the oil filler cap off. It just won't come. So I guess I'm now into removing the entire air filter. There we go. God. Well, that tells the story. That tells you everything. So that is head gasket. Yeah. That's where the water goes. I think I should go and put that through the parts washer and clean that up. There you go, as if by magic, clean. Right, I put a new nut and bolt in there because it didn't have one. I can't put it back on the tractor like it is. I just can't do that. So we'll give it a quick renovation job. Let's swap out these diesel filters. There we go. That's the old one off. On with the new one. No. That's the new one on there. Still snowing, right. I've located the hydraulic oil filler, obviously. Well, that's the engine finished. Diesel filters, oil filters, air filter. Runs, bled, done. Right, 41mm that is. I've got a 41mm ring. Nice. However, it don't fit over the nut because somebody hasn't been able to get on there and they've used a chisel to undo it. That's the only access point. I think I've got to use a chisel to undo it. That one, that's nice and clean. That's the final drive, that is. So I don't think I'm going to have any problem with that one. But I can't get on that. I can even see a groove where it's been done before. Oh, there we go. Well, that could have been worse. That's taken all that 20 litres. You can see the eyeglass there is full at the bottom, but I haven't quite got to the top. And I don't have any more hydraulic oil. So that's going to have to be it. I know it's got 20 litres in it, because I've just emptied that into it. So, right. Well, that's 20 litres of hydraulic oil, which is 20 litres more than it had before. I'll have to nip that up the same way as I undone it, and then we're into the final drive. So the plan with the final drive is to drop 20 litres out at the final drive and put 20 litres of fresh in the top. More importantly, to see what it's like when it comes out. So let's do that next. I might have inadvertently neglected to press record. Anyway, so I've drained 20 litres out and I've put 20 litres in. So we should be somewhere near on the mark. Let's just wipe that. Bang on the mark. All right. Well, what you didn't see is how bad it was. Yeah, it was, I would say the first, I don't know, the first splash out was kind of creamy, but it cleared up real quick. So if there was water in it, well, there was water in it, it was very little, and it was right at the very bottom. I'll put you up there because you'll watch the grease push all the rusty water out. Right, well, that's oils and fluids done, all of it. Everything's greased up. Next job, electrics. None of the electrics work. The horn is the only thing that works. Nothing else works. The morning of day 3. What a change. Is it snowing? No. Is it cold? Well, to some of you, it's probably extremely cold. To me, definitely not. Check this out. Now, if we're really lucky, we're going to have another 12, 14 weeks like this. Summer, spring, and winter. I've started pulling down some of the snowbanks to get them to melt faster. That big mess over in the corner, I've got to tidy that up. Stunning. Stunning. Anyway, that's not what we're doing here. So last thing last night, before I packed up and decided to get clean from all the nastiness, I opened up the fuse box. Have a look at these electrics. I've got my test meter, and this is what we got. But all the fuses look good. So we're going to do a test. Turn on the ignition and see if we've got power to the other side. You notice there's a distinct lack of wires in there. So, anyway, we're going to test the fuse box and see where we've got power and where we haven't. Let's test the battery. Right, that was on charge overnight, so we're good on the battery. We're real good on the battery. Nothing there, nothing there. Let's try turning the key on. Nothing there, nothing there. Alright, well, we've got to be able to say there's no power going past the... Right, we got power there, but nothing to anything else. So what is that? Okay, so power comes from this side, and these are accessories. So that's kind of weird. And my hands are in the way. So this is the only one that has any power. None of these others. Okay, so I've taken off this face here so I can trace the wires. The positive terminal from the battery goes through this power shut off here and down to the back of the starter motor, and then it takes 3 lives off the back of the starter motor, the 2 red ones which are 30 and the green one which come to there. One of the red ones splits this way across the other side. I don't know why. The red one and the green one carry on back into the cab. So let's get my pointer. So this is the red one and this is the green one, but there's another red one there also carrying power through this switcher block, so that works. This red one here had no fuse in it, so I've put a fuse in it and that's lived up everything else on this side, which means we have a wiper, we have fans, front, rear. I don't know about brake lights. We have front lights, power to them, and indicators. So that's basically lived up the fuse box and put some power back in. So anything that's not working now, I have to assume there's a problem at the end for the lights, bulbs, whatever it will be, or earths. So that's that. We can cover that back up. Final check of the oil level. Looks like we're all good, no leaks, everything's clean. There's oily froth on the top of the water, which, yeah, well, I know it's the head gasket, so pretty good job. So I've taken it on a road test, or track test, forest road, track, anyway, and it runs lovely. But what I didn't do was anything with the fan belts because I was going to replace them and he didn't have them in stock, so I just left them, but they need tightening. Now every time I've touched anything on this machine, every nut is a different size to what it should be. Some of them appear to be imperial, they're not, they're just rounded off. So you want to do a simple task, like adjust the alternator, and these simple tasks turn into mammoth tasks because everything is a different size, the wrong size, or rounded off. So there we go. Do whatever you can to get the nut off, and then we'll go and get a new nut. Right, there we go, a nice new 13mm nut. Okay, tight fan belts. Okay, so now the engine's clean. The only other one thing I've discovered that I didn't know about was an oil leak. That weld looks cracked, but anyway, I'm going to start the engine up and you're going to see oil come out of there. this appears to be connected to the water system. This is a water pipe. That's a water pipe. I don't know how. It all comes back to this. Anyway, but let's move that out of the way. Where this green meets the cast aluminium there, shadows and light and everything else, it appears to be leaking from the joint there. And then it runs down and it will fill up this groove. But you can see there now oil. So I don't know if this, you have to take off this and then this unscrews and there's a gasket in there, right? That could be possible, but it's definitely leaking from underneath this intersection there. So, and that's a reasonable leak, that is. It's not pouring out, but it's there. So I'm aware of this. That could be a gasket in there. So we have to take that off, replace the gasket, and it should be all right. The diesel line's replaced. Now, I've always had an issue with this tractor, and it's always been stuck in a low ratio gear, always. What I didn't realise is, whilst there's only 4 gears and a reverse on the gear stick, these T700s have got split gearbox. So you've actually got 16 forward gears and 4 reverse. Or is it 16 gears in total, 12 forward gears and 4 reverse? Something like that. But do you think I could find anywhere, anything available that will tell me how to do that? No. So for those of you who are stuck that got T700s, right, and a few of you have bought them and it's your first ever tractor or your first ever T700 and there's no paperwork available, this is what I've discovered. So this lever on by the steering wheel here, this is high ratio, this is low ratio, right? Push it forwards is high ratio, low ratio. But I couldn't get it from the low ratio. I could get it into neutral, and then I couldn't get it into the high. And I don't know why. Then I started messing with these levers down here. Right, and it would appear that when this lever here is forwards, I can get that into high ratio. And when it is back, I can't. However, when this is in forwards, in high ratio, it doesn't seem to matter what I do with this. So, I don't have a conclusive answer, but I do know when this one's forwards, I can put that into high ratio. And when this one is back, I can't. But when this one is forwards, I can put it into high or low ratio. So I would assume there's some sort of safety mechanism stops you putting this in a high ratio when the PTO is engaged. And that is only an assumption, that is. The other thing that isn't working on here is the fuel gauge, the temperature gauge, all the oil pressure gauges, all the PTO gauge. So I've got no gauges. The radio works. Weird. I don't know why the radio started working, but it doesn't turn off. Oh yeah, maybe that is off. Anyway, I can't get much of a sound out of it. I don't get any sound out of it. And like I said, the wipers. So I've got partial electrics going, but I've got no gauges. Fuel gauge I'd really like. Although both Thomas and I use the old stick method. I have to use it on my LM, and we've been using it on this. So yeah, that's all I'm doing for today. Now it's a case of connecting up that trailer and going and doing it. So it's been a reasonably successful clean up and service. There's more to do to stop the diesel from leaking. We've got to stop the diesel from leaking because it's so expensive, and that oil leak. And there doesn't appear to be. Well, you were going to run up the PTO anyway. The leak that I fixed underneath from that pipe, that seems. Oh, was that the bit where I didn't press record? Anyway, I fixed that. So it's much better, and it runs real smooth, real smooth. It's a bit bouncy on the front. I wonder if I put too much air in the tyres. What you didn't see yesterday was me ploughing. I'd already ploughed yesterday, this particular patch here, and then I put the arrows across it now. It's a bit wet, it's the wrong time of year, and. Anyway, let me show you what I did last week. Well, no, it wasn't even last week, it was the other day. These couple of patches here, but in a couple of days that will look like that. So I have to go over it with the tiller now. I did that 3 days ago. And I done that yesterday, left it overnight, the wind's blowing quite well. And now I just need to tiller it up. And this is where the potatoes are going. It's as near to soil as you'll get here. Well, it's not soil, it's dirt. Right. Sand, dust. That's what you got. And because we're still on the glacier bed, the water runs right through, there's no retention. Now I put, yesterday I shoveled by hand, I don't know, that whole green trailer full of rotten shavings, and you're always struggling to get organic material, and there's just no farms here to be able to get organic material. So this will draw down to dust like that. So each year I have to put as much organic material on this as I can and keep building it up and keep building it up and keep putting organic material. And because it's so bad, it really doesn't matter what that organic material is. It really doesn't. So generally, by and large, the main thing you can grow here is potatoes. You can't grow a lot else. However, on the smaller beds over here, peas, carrots, beans. Yeah, if you work it right, and it's nice and black over here, that'll stay like that. That's sand, right? And you see it just dips down a little bit here, and there was more sediment left at the bottom here, and it produces this black stuff which stays black, and you don't have to go very far. Right, this is black and it will stay black, and this is sand. Right, there's no difference. They've both been tillered the same amount of time, and all this stretch through here is black. The lower section is black, so you don't have to go too far before you get into this black stuff. And this is more like soil. See? That's soil. Holds the water better. It's a better colour. Walk to this side. Less soily, but not dusty. Come just down here. Dust. Sand. And the chickens, they've been liking that. There you go. So, and there is a nice black lower section over here, but it's so wet. It's just ridiculously wet. So you can see where it just changes depending on what was left. There's a creek just here. When it was a river, depending on which way the river curved, depending on which left the best sediment. You know, I've doubled the width of this and put in another couple of rows there. We're dealing with such a small amount of land, which is why, you know, the tractor way too big for the job, but it does do it. So the nearer you get to the creek, and this was turned up yesterday, you know, that's as near as soil as you're going to find here, that is. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what was on the other side of the creek, this bit of land through here. It would be interesting. And where are we with the creek? Yeah, that's reduced dramatically. The main floodwaters have gone. This is another job for one day. This all needs clearing out. All of it. I don't have a machine to do that. I certainly can't do it by hand. Anyway, so obviously we're all good with that one. There was snow on the ground here 2 weeks ago. Just so we're all clear before the comments light up. Although there's nothing wrong with the comments lighting up, because obviously it does me a lot of good. Mind the sunshine. Right, so I've got the tiller out. I can't do that very end bit, it's just too wet. So yesterday it looked like this. Well, without the tractor marks. Like that. And then I covered it in a layer of shit. And then I ploughed it. I run the arrows across it, now I've tillered it. That's ready for planting now. Should you plough in the spring? Not really. Should I have just been able to put some spring arrows across this? Well, I should have done, but I haven't been ploughed in a year. I haven't been touched in a year. So, yeah, it's what it is. But it was either that or not, and this is what I got. Right, that's enough room for my potatoes. The ground's so soft, so soft. Anyway, that's what it is. So the other thing that's interesting, as you can see, it's all brown. Well, a warm wind blew in yesterday. Not quite warm enough for me to take my top off. But warm wind blew in yesterday and everything looked brown. Overnight and this morning, green. Do you know, I was sitting there drinking my cup of coffee. I could swear I could see the grass growing. So what's interesting is I had to work till late last night to do this, and then I was back early this morning because this will be covered in snow again in 20 weeks. So it's a very short season. And now we're in 24 hours of daylight. The grass and everything else will grow 24 hours. Look at that. This was brown yesterday. Brown. And now it's coming fast. So buds on trees. 18th of May today it is. We've obviously got no leaves on trees yet, but we've got buds on trees, and that means the birch will be in bud. There are no leaves, obviously, too early for leaves, but the buds are coming. So yeah, I also tilled this fresh bit over here, the dark bit. So this side was already done. I just tilled it, but this side I ploughed from the grass to get some more of this black stuff. It's got roots in it. It's, you know, nothing's ideal. Nothing's ideal. That's ideal. It is now. So whilst we're walking in this direction, what I haven't been able to show you since the snow is how my thinning went in this particular patch over here. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. This was obviously all overflowing with water. The water just flows right over the top of it. The water went underneath 5 or 6 days ago, and now it's just down to a trickle. Look at this. So all that work we did back on, well, I don't know how many videos ago it is now, where we was working our way through this. Stunning. Perfect. Very, very happy with that. Look at the size of land it's opened up. So the tall trees at the back there, that's the boundary. We've gone right back to the boundary. We've taken out all the salu, the willow, all the weeds, and that's what you've got left. It's just amazing. And we've gone up there, obviously, I say obviously, for those that don't know, we've done through into the forest there as well. But yeah, all that hard work, that was well worth it. And now there's plenty of birch there for the next generation, see? They've all got plenty of room. And they're still going to fight for moisture, but it's not going to be so bad. And there's lots of spruce and fir coming up. You've got an option to turn this back to a spruce or a fir area in the future if you let them grow up. Or personally, I'm with Thomas and I prefer the birch, or I like the birch. That's the best that bits of land has ever looked. It's just stunning, absolutely stunning. And that's how you do that. And of course, in the meantime, I'm loading out his sheds with wood. So all's well. Yeah, I would like to stick a plough in here. I would see what this soil's like. I've got a feeling it's fertile on this side. I think they used to grow maybe hops or wheat here, some sort of grain to feed the animals with. I dare say that was grown upon at one point in the past. But weeds, the trees are like weeds here. If you leave a bit of land, it just gets taken over, as I've demonstrated. There's a happy dog. Right, I think that's it. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up. Helps the algorithm. If you're not subscribed, do that. That helps the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.